Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Horror Snob. My name's Michael James. I am the Horror Snob, and I'm here with a top 5 forgotten favorites list that I've been dying to share with you for quite some time. One that I felt needed a very appropriate, very special day in which to share it, and being today, June 6th, the anniversary of D-Day, I feel that there's no more appropriate day than today. The list, of course, the top 5 World War II horror films. A very niche group, very limited, more so than you might think. Yeah, there's hundreds of films out there that take place in modern day featuring Nazi zombies, but an actual World War II horror film, there are very few. I've got it narrowed down to the top 5, and all of them are elite movies. They are absolute must-watch, as always, priority on your list if you have not seen them yet. So, without further ado, let's get right into the list, and we're going to kick off with number 5, Below. A movie that answers the question of what would happen if you took the Amityville Horror, shoved it into the ass end of a submarine, and then sent it sailing down the middle of the Atlantic. The answer, of course, is a horror movie that starts off like U-571. It feels like a prototypical World War II period piece, and then takes a hard left turn like most horror films, and drops you off in the middle of what the fuck just happened. A fantastic film that plays a little slow to begin with, but certainly starts picking up very quickly thereafter. An all-star cast, an all-star crew, people like David Twohy and Darren Aronofsky behind camera. Twohy, the director, co-writer with Aronofsky on this film. Twohy is the guy behind the Pitch Black Chronicles of Riddick movies. And Aronofsky, this dude's given us all kinds of weird shit over the years, including things like Pi, Mother, and Black Swan. On screen, like I said, an all-star cast there as well, with Bruce Greenwood, Olivia Williams, Zach Galifianakis, Jason Fleming, Matthew Davis. The list just goes on in this film. Everyone does a fantastic job. It is a really well-done movie and an absolute must-watch. Our oldest film on the list, going back to 2002, if somehow you did not see it when it first came out, you can find it available now streaming on Showtime. Take a moment and check it out. At number 4, it's Pan's Labyrinth. The only foreign film on the list today, this one differs from the rest pretty greatly in the fact that the centerpiece, the focus of the film, is not a group of soldiers. It is not the war itself. With Pan's Labyrinth, the centerpiece, the focus of the film, is a young girl portrayed by Ivana Vaquero. A young girl who's trying nothing more than to survive, to escape the horrors of war around her, and she does so by diving headfirst into non-reality, into this fantastical world that is equal parts impressive and awe-inspiring as it is horrific. And if that sounds like a stretch to go from one extreme to the other, well then you haven't been watching any of Guillermo del Toro's movies over the last several decades. This guy specializes in towing that boundary between the fantastical elements of things like elves and trolls and dwarves and just really taking them to an entirely different level and then throwing in substantial amounts of blood and guts along the way as well. Playing and toying with ideas of demons and angels, heaven and hell, and everything that frightens us as a child. And that is the kind of world Ivana Vaquero's character is escaping to in this movie. A visually stunning masterpiece that is arguably one of Del Toro's greatest works, starring one of the greatest character actors in cinema history, Mr. Doug Jones. A guy you've seen so many times over, it's impossible to list them all. But he has worked hand in hand with Del Toro multiple times before on things like the Hellboy movies and The Shape of Water. They've always worked well together, and they do a fantastic job yet again. A great intro movie for horror for younger viewers. If you're looking for something for the whole family to enjoy, this would be a good way to go. Currently streaming on Netflix. Take a moment to check it out. At number 3, it's Shadow in the Cloud. Chloe Grace Moretz, the lead in this, playing a young female flight officer who's hitching a ride home on a bomber. Forced to sit belly gunner seat, she's got a clear bird's eye view of pretty much everything, including the nastiness that's starting to tear apart their plane. Trying to report it to the rest of the crew, they don't believe her, and things just get worse from there. Now, what I love about this film and what impressed me so much is that it really takes from two things that as a child I grew up with in the 80s, things I loved watching as a kid. The first one being the Twilight Zone movie. There's a segment in there called Nightmare at 20,000 Feet in which a character portrayed by John Lithgow is sitting window seat on a flight that is cruising along in the middle of a thunderstorm. Dude looks outside, sees some really wicked shit going on, screams and yells and tries to convince everybody they're going to die. Nobody believes him. And of course, you can guess where we go from there. The other part is Amazing Stories, a great television show from the 80s and 90s as well. 5th episode of the first season, there's an episode called The Mission, which starred, believe it or not, Kevin Costner and Kiefer Sutherland. Of this, it takes place on a bomber, and the guy sitting belly gunner is having himself a really bad fucking day, very similarly to Chloe Grace Moretz in Shadow in the Cloud. You take those two together, and what you have is Shadow in the Cloud. A visually stunning, high-octane thriller from beginning to end, a really fun, really engaging movie that really delivers across the board. Regardless of whether you relive childhood memories watching it or not, you should enjoy this film easily. Find it available on Hulu. Take some time to watch it. You won't regret it. And number 2, it's Overlord. The movie you probably thought of when I said we were going to be running down a list of World War II horror films. This embodies everything that naturally comes to mind just saying that phrase. The whole Nazi zombie, super soldier, war crimes kind of thing going down right in the heart of Europe in the middle of World War II. Nazis everywhere. I mean, this is that kind of thing. Blood and guts and explosions galore. If that's what you're looking for, this is the movie for you. And I would honestly say I'd be shocked if you hadn't seen it already. A really engaging, entertaining film from beginning to end, well acted, well put together, a great cast on screen with guys like Jovan Adepo, Wyatt Russell, Pilou Ashback, Bokeem Woodbine, Ian DeCastecker, and Meg Foster. From Game of Thrones to Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there are guys in this movie that you are very familiar with and very recently. Great cast, great crew, produced by J.J. Abrams. You know what kind of quality to expect from his films. In a movie that might be the most appropriate of any on the list, as it follows a group of paratroopers dropping in on D-Day. What they find and the horrors that await, I'm not going to get into if you haven't seen this film. I will just tell you, you have to fucking watch this movie. If you have a cable subscription, it is currently airing on FXX. You can find it there. You'd likely also find it streaming on their app or on FX. Go and check it out. Hey gang, before we finish up today's episode, just a quick reminder to check out the website, horrorsnob.com. You can find a full archive of everything I've put out thus far, some truly awesome novelty items, and absolutely rare horror memorabilia authentically autographed by dudes like Sid Haig, John Carpenter, and Bela Lugosi. All available for you at horrorsnob.com. And now let's get back into it. And lastly today at number 1, it's Ghosts of War, a newer film, much like Shadow in the Cloud, but an absolutely phenomenal film that even though it's not necessarily a quote-unquote forgotten favorite, it's way too new. Again, I had to force it onto this list. It is just way too damn impressive. One of those movies that takes you through all the paces, all the different subgenres of horror. You really don't know where you're going with this thing. All wrapped up in a mystery, presented with a background that is entirely period piece, World War II, and starts off like something right out of Saving Private Ryan. It doesn't take long before you're head first into the shit though, and man does it go down the rabbit hole quick. Through almost everything paranormal you can think of, haunting, demonic possession, down and down we go, trying to figure out what's going on, and the reveal in this thing is such a shocker, you will never see it coming. Well acted, well scripted, well directed, a great cast on screen with guys like Brenton Thwaites, Kyle Gallner, Theo Rossi, Billy Zane, Skylar Astin, and Alan Richson. A really strong group that did really well. And again, man, I cannot express enough what's waiting for you at the end of this thing if you have not seen it. A shocker to me. As much as I love it, I cannot brag enough about this film. Go and watch it today. It's on Netflix. It is priority one. All right. That's it for me today. As always, I ask you to take a moment, hit that subscribe button and the bell. Stay up to date with all the reviews, rankings, previews, trailers, everything I pump out on a regular basis. And while you're at it, hit me up across the board on social media as well. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, pretty much everywhere you are, and I'm constantly putting up things there you don't know about here. One more time, my name is Michael James. I am the Horror Snob. I thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.